Hello, can you still hear us?
Yes.
Okay, so I
Yep.
gotta put this
They
on.
on. They on. They on.
Yeah,
It's not live on Facebook though.
yeah. This is the problem we had last time. Yep.
It's on. Oh, here it is. It's live. We're live. We're going. We're good. We're good. We're good. We're good.
Live on Facebook.
Yeah, we're good.
I can't see. We're live on Facebook, Hamilton.
Go to my page. Go to my page. It's on. I see it.
What, Hamilton Rodriguez.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
Go to my personal page. It's on. I'm right on it.
Send it to me.
Yeah. All right.
Can you guys talk? Please say something.
Yeah.
Yes.
There you
Yes.
got it. We on. I sent you the page. I sent
Yeah,
you the
Hamilton,
page.
I can't even hear you.
Can't hear me?
Can you hear them?
I can hear them loud and clear.
Why?
I can't even hear you.
Can't hear me?
Barely.
Hold on. Turn up my volume. Turn up my volume.
Your volume is
Yeah.
all the way up.
Okay. You got it? Can you hear me?
It's gonna go higher. It's gonna go higher than that.
Okay, hold on. What about now?
Yeah, now I can.
Okay, it was the microphone. All right, let's get going, guys. This is Hamilton Rodriguez from The Outsiders. Today is an interesting show, but first and foremost, I would like to apologize for the tardiness. We had little technical difficulties with the software here in the studio, and we got it going. And I promise the next show will be up and running. But my name is Hamilton Rodriguez. I have two wonderful guests here on the show. Alex Veras, community activist, hardcore Republican, and a person with a heart and a person that really, really cares about his community. And we have 7th congressional candidate for Congress, Donnie Palmer, on the show. Extraordinary guy, has a degree in or is studying for urban planning, getting his master's in urban planning. Welcome, guys. Welcome.
Well, thank you.
Okay, so the topic of the show is conservative while black and brown. Okay, so basically it's an intra-community debate where these two guests are going to basically voice their opinions on how they feel about their role as Republicans, as conservatives, and being a person of color. I'm going to pass the baton on to Alex Veras first. He's going to go ahead and answer some questions. So, Alex, what sparked your interest in conservative ideas, and how do you reconcile them with your racial or cultural identity?
Well, there's no reconciling. I grew up in a pretty conservative household. Hispanics in general tend to be more conservative culturally, maybe much more economically liberal. But no, I grew up in a conservative family. You know, church was religion was an important part. I grew up Catholic. There's no reconciling there. It's just, for me, I happen to have grown up in Massachusetts, which is the devil's den of liberalism. The things I believe in: God, country, and family. That's an anathema to many Democrats in Massachusetts. The idea of believing in a God, to believe in having a family because it matters. Those are things that they don't care about. You know, it's them about, the worldview. Well, the world, I've been to a few places, is a pretty horrible place. You know, I'm interested in making my country better. And as a conservative, we need to do that. You know, people came here for a reason. You did, my family, Donnie's parents. We came here for a reason to this country, for a better life, because if what we live was so great, I'd be right now cutting sugar cane in the Dominican Republic, and I have no interest in cutting sugar cane. So for me as a conservative, a lot of that, it's how I grew up, what I saw around me, and also the hypocrisy of Massachusetts liberalism was, as a young kid, seeing white Democrats in Massachusetts talk about diversity and whatever, but yet they're the same people who were throwing rocks at buses in Boston in the 70s. You know, they're the same people that wouldn't hire people that look like the three of us in their offices, in their congressional or legislative staffs. Yeah, now they kind of have to, but if they really weren't didn't really want to do that. No, they wouldn't hire anybody that looked like us. It's just there's a lot of hypocrisy when it comes to Massachusetts liberalism that for some strange reason, a lot of Latinos go to the Democratic Party, and I can understand why, because Republicans ignore them. They go to the Democratic Party because that's where the power base is in Massachusetts. So for me, no, it was just easy. It's where I grew up and how I grew up, and just the hypocrisy you see in Massachusetts among Democrats.
Interesting. Donnie, give me your perspective. What sparked your interest in conservative ideas, and how do you reconcile them with your racial culture identity?
Yes, I was unmuting myself. Well, frankly, I became, increasingly frustrated with the notion that my personal outcomes, whether it was success or failure, was always boiled down to my race and my color, and my zip code. I got tired of listening to that. That my upbringing was limited to my skin color. I've heard that up until I left the Boston public school systems, and I stopped hearing that when my parents put me into private school. I went to Brooks School, and an old Irish guy by the name of Danny Kelly. You know who he is. He helped me out, and he helped me clarify the statistical gaps, between races, and it was all nonsense. It was everybody had their woes, had their times in history where they were slaves, and it was all about how you overcome and how those people got over that, not living off of hurt and creating a victim mindset. So I became a conservative because I just want to break that victim mindset.
All right. So, Alex, can you share a personal story where conservative principles shaped a pivotal decision in your outcome?
I think it's always how I live my life. I mean, I'm not going to go off the deep end. I'm not going to be like some member of the Kennedy family. It's just for me that this is just how I feel that you take a look at what you're going to do. There always is going to be an outcome. You study the situation and you try to provide the best possible outcome for you, your family, or those around you. If you don't think things through, like a lot of legislation in Massachusetts, you have what we're having now, which is high rents, high energy costs. A governor that says, 4 years ago when she was attorney general, guys stopped to gas pipes. Look at the price of gas. I mean, you have to think things through. You have to look at long term, but that's an American thing, is that we don't look long term at situations in this country. When you think of the here and now, you have to look at the long term. How's that going to affect you 10, 15, 20 years down the road? And so for me, I live every day on a principle. What is the long term of this? Short term, yeah, the here and now, that's all fine, but eventually it's going to come and pay. So it's just how I overall live my life, that I look at long term aspects of things. What car am I going to, obviously I'm going to have to get a newer car, but, what kind of car am I going to buy? Is it going to be worth the buck? Is the car, because of the weather in Massachusetts, am I going to get something fancy or something practical? No, you get something practical because long term, that is what's going to get you from point A to point B, especially in the winter in this state. So that's how you live life. You look at the situation, you analyze it, and you focus it, that it's, again, not to repeat myself, that it's long term. Every principle has every action has a reaction, and I think that's what we need to live by. We need to look at long term effects of how we do things. And I grew up in a town, Haverhill, which tore down its downtown for no apparent reason, and still rips into the fabric of the city that creates negativism, because nobody sat down and looked at the urban core of things. And that's why I believe in urban politics, that urban politics is a little bit different than suburban politics. You have to look at long term, what are the decisions made in the cities of the Commonwealth and how they're the best interest of the people that live there.
Excellent. Good analogy and good point of view. Donnie, can you share a personal story where conservative principles shaped a pivotal decision or outcome?
Yes, I definitely can. As you know, I boxed for almost about 20 years of my life, you know, and boxing to me is very conservative, a conservative sport. You need family, you need friends, you need a lot of support. You know, you gotta have a lot of elbow grease and hard work. You know, and belief and dedication. Um, when I was boxing changed my life. You know, like again, I'm gonna reference Danny Kelly again and a couple good guys off the Boston Police Department. Um, you know, I was a knucklehead when I was young. I was getting in trouble. You know, a few firearm charges, and I had an opportunity to box in the army. And Danny Kelly and these officers were like, "Hey, guy, you can like change your life. You know, you can use this sport and use the military, get up off these streets, make something of yourself, go back to school, you know, come back to the community, teach some young kids how to box, you know, and tell your story."
Yes.
And I took that opportunity,
Hmm.
you know, and that's the conservative principles. You know, that's not me, you know, sitting around, you know, collecting unemployment or, you know, collecting welfare or you know, food stamps and selling a bag of drugs every week. You know, that's progressive. You know,
Yeah.
the conservative way to go is to, you know, pick a dream, pick a goal, and go after it. And that's what I did. I did that for boxing for about the last 20 years of my life, and now I'm back in school, working on my master's degree, trying to work towards a JD, a Juris Doctorate degree, after I finish this master's degree and another semester. And that's the message that I want to hand out to all the young kids and everybody in my community. You know, that comes from Roxbury, Dorchester, Mattapan, Lynn, Brockton. You know, like you can get it done. Hard work and elbow grease, dedication.
Yes. Check the message. Um, Alex, how do you respond to the framing that conservatism is at odds with racial justice or civil rights movements?
I mean, it's interesting is that the why we don't have slavery is because of Republicans, because the Republican Party was founded as a party against slavery. You have the 1965 Civil Rights Act was passed because of Republicans, because a lot of Democrats, primarily Southern Democrats, to include Al Gore's father, okay, did not want to vote for this. But yet you had Joe Martin, the late Joe Martin, who was a Republican Speaker of the House in the 50s for about a term, from Attleboro, Mass, I believe, told the Republican caucus, you know, this is the right thing to vote for. This is, you know, this we have to vote for. The vote for women came because of Republicans. So, you know, Democrats like to talk, but I see obstruction. I see the Ku Klux Klan. I see Jim Crow. That's their history. That's not the history of the Republican Party. But somehow we have failed in letting our youth, especially minority youth, Black and Hispanic and Asian.
What happened? Go back live. Go live. Go live. Go live. Go live. Put it public. Put it public. What happened? Did you go off and back on? Go off live.